Trapped by the belief that I'm not good enough, bound by the limitations and the lies that consumed my world, this was me. It wasn't until I took the biggest leap in my life to know and trust the power within. And it was at that moment I made a choice. My past will not define me anymore. Hello, I am Teri, and I know I am not alone in this. Over the years, I have found that the number one mistake that we make is that we get in the way of our own success story. Yes, I said it. On this show, together we'll tackle limiting beliefs, self sabotage, getting stuck, fear, doubt, overwhelm, and the imposter syndrome. Join us on this journey designed to transport you beyond your limitations to a world where anything is possible. This is Talking with Teri. Hello, and welcome back to Talking with Teri, where we have powerful conversations to transform your life and your business. And I am so delighted for our guest today. Sandra is a special guest today with us. She is the founder and CEO of eWomenNetwork, the premier success system for women entrepreneurs, with over 500,000 women connected through 118 chapters. Sandra is the winner of countless awards, is featured in the Chicken Soup for Entrepreneur Soul. She's the producer of the Glow Project movie, heralded as one of the most inspiring movies ever created for women. CNN has named her American hero. Sandra, welcome to the show.
It's wonderful to be with you, Teri. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yes, thank you, thank you. Okay, so I want folks to know you and know about your story because I have known you for at least, I want to say about 8 years.
I was going to say, we've known each other for a
A
while.
while,
Yeah.
and I just got back from Dallas, seeing you in person.
Yes.
That was just an extraordinary event, as always, and you changed some things up, and I loved it. And
Did you? Good.
it was fun.
Yeah.
It was a great experience. It was just high energy. I think that the magic of what you create is the connection, and it's just, yes, we went through this pandemic, but what you have continued to cultivate and create is this massive community with that connection. And so all of us women and a few men, right?
Yep. Yep.
A
Yep.
few
Yep.
men in the room that just, it was just such high vibe energy. It was just so yummy, like fuels your soul.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, people are ready, and there's just no question.
Yes.
I mean, we've been eye to eye via Zoom, but getting back to that real knee to knee where we're really, in each other's presence is a shift in energy. I mean, Zoom has been a phenomenal, great alternative. But now that we're starting to approach life after lockdown, I can feel how anxious people are to get back to that, really in each other's space from a respectful perspective. But there's just nothing like that kind of connection.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Sandra, tell us, our listeners, your background, what led you to, get to where you are at today.
Right. So let's see here. How can I do this in a real compressed period of time? I'm a small town farm girl, Midwestern farm girl. I've moved from Ohio. I now live in Dallas, and I've been here about 26 years. I've raised my children here for sure. My business will be 21 years old in a couple of months. And I came about eWomenNetwork because when I moved from Ohio, I had my own consulting practice. And when you live in a very small farm town in the Midwest and you want to work with big clients like I did, Coca-Cola and Levi Strauss and John Deere and AT&T and the Wall Street Journal, et cetera, it required me to fly. So I was on a plane a lot. And I thought, if I'm coming to Dallas, Texas, it's the big D, as they said. And there was home, world headquarters for Frito-Lay and J.C. Penney's and Texas Instruments, and the list goes on. I thought, wow, I need to, start networking so that people know that I'm in their own backyard, right? And I can build my client base out of Dallas. And I found it hard to network. To be honest with you, I felt at the time, this was back in 1998, I felt like people here, women's organizations were more casual.
Mhm.
They weren't as solid business focused as I wanted them to be. If I was going to be away from my children and my husband, I really wanted something to show for it. I'm all about girlfriends, but I was really looking to grow, a $1 million business, and I just couldn't find it. And the men organizational groups were very kind. I mean, everybody was very nice to me, but I just didn't feel like I was invited, Teri, to, play in the game. I felt like I was
Mhm.
relegated to the sidelines, and I certainly didn't want to be just a cheerleader. I wanted to play in the game. And so, after having many conversations with my husband, to be completely transparent, he was the one that said, well, maybe you ought to start your own network. And I really started thinking about that. And by the year 2000, I launched eWomenNetwork. And I just want to say, I've never built $1 million business, a global business. I've never employed people. I now have 3/4 of a floor and a tower here in Dallas. I've never done any of those things before, and I just kind of started moving. And as the more I moved, the more I learned, and the more I learned, the more courage I developed. The more courage I developed, the more risks that I took. The more risks that I took, the confidence emerged from things working out. And here I sit today, 20, almost 21 years later.
Wow, powerful. And what you're talking about is like the momentum, that
Yes.
momentum starts to build.
Yes.
And, kind of once I always tell people, like, once we find that train track, like what we're supposed to be doing and that purpose
Yeah.
and that passion, it's
Yes.
kind of hard to get off the track. I mean, yes,
Right.
there's some like, you can try to exit, but once
Yes.
you're on it,
Yeah.
let's go, right?
Yeah. And I love that what you said, Teri, is the let's go part, because I still think it's easy to get on the track and keep a foot on the brake.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And once you're on track and you're on your track, the right track, the track that really is in alignment with your calling and your dream, now you've got to push the accelerator
Yeah.
and pick up speed. And it requires, some risk to do that. But I always say your dream comes from within you. Your success comes from who's beside you. And
Mm,
what I know is nobody makes it alone, including me. I have 4 coaches. I belong to a mastermind group. And what I can tell you is the more I align with people that are more successful than me and make that investment, the more successful I become. And it more than pays for itself 10 times over.
yeah, that's a powerful message. So let me ask you this: creating a multi-million-dollar company,
Mhm.
growing it to employees does not come without your own personal development.
Oh,
What has been your biggest challenge, barrier, or block to getting to where you're at today?
I think a couple of things. First it started out, no one in my family has ever done this. So what do I think makes me so special?
Mm,
The second one was, what if people find out I really don't know what I'm doing? The imposter syndrome,
yep.
right? And the third is, how devastating will this be with the investments that I'm making if I fall on my face? And it was all ultimately tied to, if you really started peeling back the layers and getting to the heart of the matter, just a lot of money mindset issues that I had.
Mm,
And I was raised on welfare by a single mom. My real father died before I ever had a chance to know him. He died on my birthday in a car accident when I turned 5 years old. I have very few real memories of him, and I have a lot of pictures and I imagine things, but actual real memories are few and far between. My mother, I'm first generation American. My mother was from Mexico. English was definitely not her first language. And so I just was, I had a brother who was 13 months older than me that was born with a major heart defect. It was very hard for him to rest. And when he was sleeping, it was very much about keeping the noise down and staying quiet, and just a very traditional, Hispanic environment for a girl. Which
mm,
was, to, stay in your place and
yeah.
understand that, you are in more of a supportive role. So, a lot of that played out to, how I showed up, and even some of the early direction that I took from people with eWomenNetwork that I felt were smarter than me and knew more than me and had a better track record than me. But I felt like I just knew that things were supposed to be different, but I couldn't find my voice. And then I learned that I didn't have to have a voice. I could just still, while I was developing my voice, just be true to my heart. I think
Yeah,
your head has your head has a language that your heart doesn't understand. They're different,
yeah, yeah,
and there's this small voice in there who has a really big job, and that's to keep you in your smallness, right? So just kind of quieting all of that and learning how to, journal and meditate and listen to positive messaging, and getting in alignment with people that, talked about the ability to achieve your dreams, and listening to that and borrowing their voices until I found my own,
yeah,
was a big piece of a turning point for me. And I went to counseling over it. I mean, I didn't know that I had a money mindset issue, but when I went to a great counselor who started asking me questions like, when you think about success and money, what comes to mind? And, I remember hearing growing up, money is the root of all evil. And it's a partial quote. It's not a full quote. The love of money is the root of all evil. But what
yeah,
I had to learn was that, really good people that make really good money tend to do really good things with it.
yeah,
And so I had to change, and that's when I started learning a lot about Oprah and what she was doing, right, with her foundation, and I thought, I can do that too. I can make the world a better place, on a
yeah,
much larger level than just the people that I touch, and like the people that St. Vincent de Paul that would bring food to my house, when I was a little girl, feeding the poor, from the church. And I thought, I can do those kind of things for other people too. So I had to find out kind of what was going on. And then to change it, I had to find other people that could be good role models for me, even if I never met them. And then I had to get into action, press the accelerator and keep going and stop thinking about it, but start bringing it about. And that became a big shift for me, Teri, but it didn't happen overnight. It
yeah,
happened over a number of years. It still pops up for me. It's still things that pop up in, my small voice from time to time. And I've had to learn that I'll never put her to rest. I have to lead her. I have to manage. I have to
yeah,
lead myself and manage her,
yes,
my critical Christina.
yes.
And
Great way
she's
of
still
putting it.
there.
Because I think that what you're talking about is like having this huge paradigm shift,
Yeah.
right? This paradigm shift that doesn't happen overnight. But what I loved hearing you say is that I started reaching out to the people that were 10,000 steps ahead of me, like
Yes.
people that could build my support team
Right.
to help, as you say, and in one of our, the core missions or the core values of eWomenNetwork is we lift as we climb, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so, I mean, it's powerful to think about, it's not an easy journey.
No.
And yet here we are, one step at a time, changing that paradigm. And here's the
Hmm.
thing, and I love talking about the brain and how the brain gets impacted, because the more that you shift your paradigm, what happens is the brain is actually going and seeking out more evidence. And
That's
so,
right.
well, Sandra, you did this. Now you can do this. You can
Yeah.
do this. There's sometimes in my life that I will sign up for really, kind of, definitely outside the box, things in my life to say, can I just do it? Like I ran a marathon one time and I was like, well, if I could run a marathon, I can
Right.
do this. If I can
Yeah.
do that, I can do this. And it's just literally, it's all about, for me, is that the brain is collecting evidence that
Yes.
you can push yourself that hard, that long, that you can do anything. And so it's
Yes.
just that paradigm shift and allowing the brain to really shift over to what is possible, like, the
Yes.
possibility mindset versus the scarcity or lack mindset,
Yes.
which is a powerful way in, I think, in any, for anyone, but
Yes.
specifically, for entrepreneurs and small business owners that are, because it's, as it could be a lonely road. Like I heard the other day, and I don't know if this is true, but it kind of resonates with me that, entrepreneurs are like these 1%ers of the planet, because
Hmm.
we are just, we sign up for,
Right.
we sign up for this journey. I think that's like half insanity. I think that we're the 1% of
Hmm.
sane
Hmm.
people on
Hmm.
the
Yeah.
planet.
Right. 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 But I've tried being normal, and that doesn't work for me
And that
either.
doesn't work either, right? Like, yeah, like my nieces and nephews, they call me crazy Aunt Terry, and I
Yeah.
mentioned
Yeah.
that
There's
at
a
one
bit of
point.
there is a bit of that.
And
It's
yeah, I took offense to that. And I asked him one day, I said, why do you guys call me crazy Aunt Teri? And they're like, well, you eat weird things, you try different things. You're always like, you're jumping out of planes, you're doing this, you're doing that. And like, that's a little, and I was like, now that I know, I embrace the crazy Aunt Teri all day
Yes.
long. Like,
Right.
go ahead. Like, I'm living life. Like,
Yeah.
call me what you want.
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
So what do you think? I'd love to know from you, from just all your years of experience, the journey you've gone through. What do you think has been the biggest challenge for entrepreneurs in their journey?
They think about things too long.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
I think people think that if they're thinking about their business, they're working on their business. And
Mm,
there's an element of truth to that. I do think you have to think about things, but I think that if you paid more attention to what I call the clutch, that like sometimes, we always say, am I doing the right thing? Send me a message. And then we get an opportunity and we go, yes. And then we go, well, wait a minute here. And we pick up our phone and like, let me look at my calendar and will I be okay? Will the kids be okay? And will my significant other, oh, he's going to be out of town. And, and we just, it's almost as if it's our small voice finding ways to convince us to stay small. And what I know is that I've learned that I need to, instead of waiting until I'm ready to take
mm,
action, I take action in order to get ready. And what I have
that's
learned
beautiful.
is
That's
that the
beautiful.
universe actually conspires to
Hmm.
bring about what you think about. When
Yeah.
you say you're going to do something, the universe tends to adjust in order to create alignment for you. It likes that equilibrium, and I think that entrepreneurs, particularly women entrepreneurs, overthink things.
Yes.
And what causes them to overthink is they just stay too long thinking about it, and they get into the but what if and what should and before you know it, that opportunity passes them by.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I've seen a lot of women, not say yes. And oftentimes we say yes to the things that we should be saying no to
Yeah.
because they're like distract. I mean, I get it. Like I tell my husband all the time, like I have ODH, attention deficit shiny. So it's like
Okay.
ODAOS, right? Like because
Right,
like
right.
attention deficit, shiny. Here's the shiny
Right,
object,
right,
right?
right.
So that can be a lot of that, but I think you're right. Like I think as entrepreneurs, sometimes we're not saying yes to what means yes and no to what means no.
That's right.
And by doing so, like you said, we're missing opportunities or we're missing those possibilities that can either keep us on track or get us on track in the first place.
Yeah, yeah.
So I like that.
My belief is that when you lose your excuses, you find your results. And when you say
Mm,
yes to things, it just, you will start to focus on making them happen. And
yes. And like you said, the universe will come and support you
just
and
does.
conspire with you.
Yeah.
I
If it
love that.
only happened once or twice, I don't think I would stand in as much conviction. But over the last 20 years, I've known it to be true over and over and over again. When I started eWomen Network in 2000, I think it was eWomen Network, all supposed to be online. Then we had the internet bust. That was around 2001-ish, 2002. And so I had to retool and regroup and call E for entrepreneur and just rebrand. And then, in 2004, I'm opening up Canada, and then SARS came out. Do you remember that? It's kind of, they
Yes.
say it might be a derivative of actually COVID. I don't know, but I've heard people talk about it,
Yeah.
and I had to figure out after making a lot of investment and opening up Canada, how I was going to continue to do that. And I did. And about 4 years later, 2008 was the housing crisis, and I saw millions of dollars fly out the window of corporate sponsorships, and that money went away. And I pulled my stuff together and I said, no one's going to take a pay cut and we're not going to lay anybody off, but we've got to do things differently. And we did. And, here I am, a live event company, 1,900 events a year. And COVID came in and shut everything down. And I pulled everybody together and said, no one's going to lose their job. No one's going to take a pay cut, but you just got to hang in there with me. And we got to know that we can't continue to do, what we've been doing. The universe has said they need a new version of us. And so we have to
Yes.
show up differently and figure it out. And we did. And, we're starting to come out of it. And guess what, Teri, in another few years, it's just been my experience, probably something else will pop up. And I always just
Yeah.
say, well, it's just another thing. We'll figure it out. And we just
Yeah.
figure it out and keep going. But you've got to
Yeah,
be open to innovating, to stopping the version of you that the universe no
yeah,
longer needs, and
exactly.
not give up on your dream. Just know that it's time for you to innovate and develop some, kind of unlearn and relearn, new ways of, fulfilling what it is that you're really passionate about.
Agreed. I love that. That's beautiful. So what would, I'm curious because I'm curious on this question here. What would most people be surprised to learn about you?
I think most people would be surprised to learn that I clean my own house, that I cook dinners, 4 out of 7 nights a week, that I love being outside in the dirt, with the flowers and moving flowers and pruning and weeding things. I think people would be surprised to know that, most days I wear my hair up in a clip with no makeup on. Yeah, I think that it's really easy for people to see these, important branding photographs, and to see me show up on a big stage and all of that. But I really am just a really basic, simple. Now, when my kids were little, I had help because I couldn't do it all. They were very busy and into a lot of things. But
Yeah,
my kids have been gone. My youngest is 26, and we live in the same house that we raised them in, and we love it there. And my husband and I take care of it. I scrub toilets and clean mirrors and bathrooms, and I don't want anybody else in my house, quite frankly. And I like a really clean house. So I think people would be surprised to know that I do those things, but that's
yeah,
because I don't manage time. I manage boundaries. I just
yeah.
don't get involved in things that don't add value, that really aren't important, that don't truly fulfill me. And I give my time to the things that do. And once you manage your boundaries, time takes care of itself.
Yeah, and I think that's an important lesson, an important message, because I think so many times as entrepreneurs, when we're first starting out, we have 50,000 hats, it feels like, trying to
Yeah,
manage everything. And until you get to a point to where you can create team
right.
and create a staff that can support, and you can start to delegate,
Yeah,
and then as you evolve your business, you start to hopefully, I think for a lot of companies is to start to move down that path of becoming more
yeah,
entrepreneur, I mean independent, where
yeah.
the owner independent, where you're managing at top level and not necessarily getting stuck in the weeds for
Yeah.
day-to-day
But Terry,
operation.
can I just be totally
Yeah,
transparent with
yeah,
you?
let's do.
I mean, the truth of the matter is, at every new level, you trade one set of problems for the other.
It's
You
true.
trade one set of challenges for the other. You
Mm-hmm,
change one set of opportunities for the other. I
mm-hmm.
mean, every level has its own series of things, right? And
Agreed.
so, yeah. And so, I mean, being successful is hard. And I
It,
think it's important for people to know that. What I do know, though, is being broke is harder. And what I
yeah,
also know is that, living a very unfulfilled life is the hardest. And
yeah,
so at some level, you've got to pick your heart,
yeah.
right? I
I
mean,
agree.
it's
Yeah,
hard. This stuff is not easy. And because I know that, I don't expect it. And when I have easy moments or easy days or easy instances, or,
mhm,
I celebrate them big time,
yeah,
because I
yeah.
know that it's not always going to be that. And that's just part of it. It's just, and I think that that is an important message. It's not to be
I
discouraging.
so appreciate you saying that, because when I was starting out, I own another large company that has become owner independent. I spend about 4 hours a month in that company. And it was interesting because I was so naive, because I was like, oh, well, I started out the day, and then I built it, and then I brought on staff, and then I continued to build it. And I in my head, I set myself up for serious disappointment, because I thought the next level would be easier.
Right,
And then,
right.
as you said, like, it was so true, because it just brings another level of challenge, another level of adventure, another level
Yeah,
of learning, not only for myself, but like, I mean, it just, and personal development is just like right along with it.
no
And
question.
and it's just like, okay, that didn't put me out. Okay, well, okay, the next minute. And so I was like, and in my head, I'm going to tell you this, in my head, I had that once I had full my staff completely filled up. At one point we had 12 staff members, and I said, okay, once we get there, like
I
I'm
know.
easy breezy. And then
Right.
I was like, oh wait, staff actually leave, staff move on. Oh, I have to
Right.
rehire. I'm like, it was so funny. I was like,
Hmm.
okay, but now it's, you know what, I think all of those things that, lead us up to this point of testing us. And, I think that for me, what it has been, it's been like, okay, like you said earlier, like everything's figure outable and we can just we're going to figure it out.
Right.
And when COVID happened, it was literally, I went to my staff and I said, here it is, here's what's going on, here's what we need to do. And within 72 hours, we made this massive shift, went to all virtual, and we like, it was really, we weren't as impacted by it as we could have been, right? It
Hmm.
was like,
Right.
okay, a moment of like, we're going to revamp like did with eWomen. And then we kind of got back on track. We got into this groove and we're like, okay, now we're continuing to grow and expand that company. And so it's just, it's powerful,
Yeah.
when we can get to that, stand in that place of just, things are going to happen,
Right.
things are going to, show up. And I always, I'm like, sometimes I always say like, goodness, I was like, that's all you got? What
Right.
is
Right.
this?
Right.
Like, I got this. That's all you
Like,
got?
yeah.
I can do that one in my sleep,
Right.
So,
Right.
but finding some humor, in it as well, because otherwise I think we would go insane.
No question.
So
No
as we wrap
question.
up here today, what is something that you, besides all the yumminess that you just shared today, what is a tool, a strategy, a nugget that we can leave our listeners with that would just add value to anywhere in their process, no matter, if they're beginning, entrepreneurship, or if they're, even transitioning out, what is a nugget that we can leave them with?
I would say that become unattached to how.
Mm,
I really
so good.
believe that as a great entrepreneur, what you have to have is a really clear vision. And clarity is the name of the game so that other people can really understand what you're talking about and attach themselves, because people love to be part of a great idea, right? Don't worry that you don't know how to do it. I mean, I always say that if you know how to do things, you're probably not dreaming big enough. Just understand that and I think it's counterintuitive for most people to really be a great CEO. It's not about having the answers. It's about having the questions. It's about,
Mm,
this is what I want to do. And then saying, so what do I need to know? So what do I need to be mindful of? So what is the first step? So where do we go from here? So, and if you're surrounding yourself with really great people, and you don't have to employ them, but you have to belong to a really great networking group where there are other people that they may not be smarter than you. They may not even be as successful than you, but they could have the answer, the one thing that could change everything for you based on their area of expertise. So just be open. When you're open to things, answers tend to reveal themselves, right? So don't worry about. I think we get so caught up in how we're going to do it that it often causes us to kind of ride the brake and the accelerator at the same time, and that grind, literally the literal grind,
mm.
makes the journey so much harder.
Yeah. Oh, what a powerful way to end. And if you have not checked out eWomen Network, if you are a female, a male too, we
Yeah.
welcome all.
Yes.
If you have a business, or even contemplating a business, right, and you want to
Oh,
come into
sure.
an amazing group of
Don't you wish,
like-minded,
Teri, that
powerful
you
leaders.
had us when we first started?
Yes,
You know
yes.
what I
I
mean?
mean, I'm telling you, it's you know what what you have created, I
Mm,
know has taken your blood, sweat, and tears in the creation of this, and
yes.
I am forever grateful. And I
Mm,
know that the community that you have created is just incredibly grateful for you
mm,
having the courage and really stepping into your purpose and passion, and being the potent being that you are to create this company.
mhm.
And I know that this is a legacy that you've created, and this is something that even your daughter is going to eventually take over and keep
Yes.
this legacy alive. and
Mhm.
and the work that you've done has been transformative, in businesses and in your mission and vision, to really up level,
Mhm.
women entrepreneurs, and the work that we're doing is powerful. So
Well,
thank
thank you.
you.
Thank
Thank
you. I
you.
mean, I just have to say, if it hadn't been for eWomen Network, I wouldn't have met you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's an example of these just terrific, amazing relationships. And I wouldn't be on your show, right? And I wouldn't be able to support you and have this rich conversation with you, which ultimately even strengthens and cements our relationship deeper. So, I'm grateful for the journey too, for just the opportunity to be in connection with you, Teri. So thank you so
Mm,
much for inviting me.
thank you.
I am so grateful that you joined me for this episode. If you've enjoyed this, then there's just one thing that I would like you to do. Click to subscribe and leave me a rating and review. As my way to thank you, let's connect for a free consultation. Just reach out to me at talkingwithteri, that's TERI.com, to book your time.